What's up everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk to you about the absolute best things about living here in Prague, Czech Republic. And before making this video, I've really been racking my brains trying to figure out what it is that makes me love living here in this city. And I think I've come up with 7 different things, so I want to talk about those next. So to start off, in my opinion, the best thing about living here in Prague is that there's an amazing public transportation network, and you definitely do not need a car to get around. It really is incredible, and I'll go on record saying that Prague probably has the best public transportation in the entire world. They have metros, trams, and buses, and all of them are really reliable and easy to use. And during the weeks, they run around the clock, so I think the metros come every 3 to 4 minutes, so if you miss your train, it's not really a big deal. You'll still get to work on time. Same thing for trams. There's just so many numbers of lines that a lot of them are going in the same direction. You'll always be able to get one. So it's super convenient, and I love the transportation network here. And now moving on to point number 2, another thing that's great about living in Prague is that it's generally a very safe city. I think the Czech Republic in general is ranked like 10th or 11th in terms of safest countries in the world. So it's really nice and a blessing feeling safe in your own environment. The quality of life is high, and I can walk around and not really fear for my safety, especially at night. And that isn't the case when I visited Western Europe or living in the USA. And my girlfriend feels the same. She walks around by herself and doesn't really feel on edge, so to speak. So I think that's something I will not take for granted, because safety is very important in this world and not something you can find everywhere. And then my third point is kind of demonstrated by where I am right now. And that's the fact that Prague has so many amazing parks and green spaces. And this kind of goes back a little bit to my first point, which is transportation, because normally in a lot of cities you have to have a car to be able to get out of the city into nature if you want to do that. But here I took the tram to this park. There's so many different areas where you can take public transport, get to a place with nature and greenery, walk around, hike, have a picnic, bring your pets, your dogs, everything like that. So it's really nice being able to just take in that nature within the city limits and the surrounding area. So I can't complain about the amount of greenery here. And now moving on to my fourth point, which is probably the one that a lot of people have debates about. I think that there's an amazing food scene here in Prague, both local food and international food. So let me get into it a little bit. I think there are a lot of amazing Czech foods that I really love, like goulash, svíčková, rýžek, so many different things, like bread dumplings, all that stuff are great. And I also think that there's a great international food scene here in Prague. There's so many different international restaurants. I'm doing a series on my shorts and on my Instagram about international foods, where I'm trying to eat food from every country in the world. And I can find so many different places here in the city. So that really makes it great and nice, because I can get any type of food that I want on any given day. But okay, moving on to point number 5 that I think is definitely not up for debate is the fact that there's absolutely beautiful architecture here in Prague. One of my favorite activities is just walking around the city and getting lost in the alleyways, taking in the medieval architecture, appreciating some of the buildings and the cobblestone streets. All of that is just really picturesque, and it makes for just a beautiful city, and I think that anyone can appreciate it, especially if you're an architecture buff. All right, so let's keep it moving now to point number 6, which is I think that Prague is in a really unique location in the heart of Central Europe. And I want to make 2 separate points about this topic here. So the first is that I think that because of the location, it kind of mixes the cultures of Western and Eastern Europe into one country, one city. So you kind of have the best of both worlds, and you take some of that flair and the style of Western Europe, and you mix it with the Eastern Europe way of life and the hospitality, and it all like blends together really well and makes it a fascinating place to visit. And I think it's just great in my opinion. And secondly, I want to talk about how this kind of is a great strategic base if you want to travel throughout the entire continent of Europe. You can take weekend trips to Germany and Austria, Poland, Slovakia, everywhere like that. And you can also strategically plan like bus trips or train trips or flights everywhere around all of Europe, so it really makes it convenient for visiting the entire continent as a whole. And finally, last but not least, my 7th thing I love about living in Prague, and that's the fact that I think that it's never boring here. There's always something going on and things to enjoy. Like tonight I'm going to a concert at this cool venue called the Meat Factory in Smíchov, and there's just so many things happening all the time. You can see games, go to restaurants, go to parks, concerts, shows, just always things happening, and people, there's so many expats and locals alike in the city. There's obviously a very populated place. So if you want to make friends and meet people, it's possible, and you're never going to be sitting at home bored if you don't want to be. And I just realized I forgot to mention the museums as well. There are tons of museums you can go to take in the culture and the history of the Czech Republic. So yeah, there's really just endless amounts of possibilities of things to do. All right, everyone, so that does it for this video. Those are 7 incredible things about living here in Prague, Czech Republic. I honestly think it's one of the best cities in the entire world. I highly recommend everyone comes and checks it out at least once. Really hope you found this video insightful. Give me a follow, a like, and a subscribe. Everything that you can to support my channel. Really appreciate it, and I will see you guys on the next video.